any type of investment into a lead, you have to look at the lifetime value of that lead.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is you're getting these leads and that it's going to be instant money, when really it's the long game.
A lot of newer agents, they show a house, person doesn't buy that one house, and they're like, dud lead. I'm like, what are you talking about? They still want to buy a house, just not that house. The average home buyer is not buying for 110 days. Just managing the expectation up front is really helpful for agents so that they don't get to that first showing and they're like, oh, this person's probably going to buy a house. Like, probably not.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Behind the Glass. Today we have a family full of Glasshouse folks, so that's exciting. We've got Cody Goodman here, recently joined and onboarded in the Cleveland area, one of the team leaders of the Asa Cox home teams, which I would call a mega team. They're nearly 80 agents and just dominate the upper Cleveland corridor. We have Travis Wilt here. Wears many hats: entrepreneur, agent, team manager. He's got an extensive background, as well as a cash buy and investment program that has run very well for him the last several years. And then Don Cordell, who wears many hats within our outfit. But for today's purposes, we're going to focus more on leads. Don does run our entire lead department, whether that be relocation, our Zillow preferred platform, or just the general brokerage leads. And she has absolutely crushed and grown that for us. So, and then of course me, Mo Zahedi, co-founder and broker, Glasshouse Realty. So I guess first and foremost, you guys kind of lean in, introduce yourself. So, Cody, tell us a little bit about what you guys did last year in 2025, maybe kind of how you even entered into a lead platform, like what that looked for you when you were a baby agent or new to real estate itself.
Awesome. Yeah. So we sold about 800 homes last year, about 200 million in volume.
Just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We've got about 30% of it Zillow, and the rest is all of our other internal marketing stuff. So we do billboards, do TV, do a little bit of everything.
I've been there when there's been live radio ads, by the way, that just organically fits into their day, which is insane. Like, we're in the middle of a meeting and Asa will just walk out, not even walk out, just take 2 steps away from the table, phone call, live radio spot, and right back to the table for the meeting she was a part of.
I've actually been in listing appointments with her, and she's just like, can you excuse me just for a moment? And then jumps on the radio. And it's really a good selling tool for sellers.
Oh, absolutely.
That lands the list
for sure
every single time.
Yep.
Wow.
Awesome.
Travis, what about you? How did you get into it? What's your backstory?
So, backstory. So as far as last year, our investment business, we bought around 50 properties last year, actually purchased and acquired those. Prior to that, I did run a sales team where we took it from 10 million up to 70 million a year.
Wow.
So
how many agents did you have on that team, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, we
Roughly.
had 12.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So at that time we were doing similar stuff. So it was radio, TV, PPC, pay-per-click, different types of paper lead sources. So many of the same lead types as well.
And then Dawn?
And for me, so leads have always been how I've made my money. And then you invited me to do this thing called Zillow Flex, which is now preferred. I took over your team. We've had 6 agents just doing running the Zillow leads. Today, 5 years later, I'm proud to say we're at 40 agents. And last year we did 70 million, and we're looking to do over 100 million this year.
Yeah, the growth has been
awesome.
Amazing.
Nothing less than phenomenal. And I guess that's kind of the oddity of me, right? So I've been agent, team lead, and now to broker. And so to Don's point, when that broker hat started taking over my day-to-day responsibilities and was truly my focus, we dissolved our sales team. And we took that flex team and we made it a brokerage-wide lead program, which again, as Don said, was about 6 agents and probably 15-ish million in sales from just the Zillow side to now, I think she was being a little humble. I think we did over almost 80 million last year with those agents. And yes, certainly on pace to do over 100. So I think from a broker standpoint and an agent standpoint, kind of having that umbrella, like overlook view, leads are super important. I think a lot of people want to tear down a Zillow or an OpCity or a Homes.com or whatever avenue it could be, whether it's pay-per-click, and you're using Facebook or Google or something of that nature. But to me, it's a foundational tool. Like, you only have so much of a sphere, and certainly you're going to attack that, and that's a big part of your business and knowing your local industry, market, et cetera. But building that forever foundation requires a lot. People on average are buying homes every 5 to 7 years. And so your brother and sister can only buy so many before they're going to tap out and start blocking your phone. So,
well, leads, it's the oxygen.
Yeah.
It's the lifeblood to any business whatsoever. So if you don't have consistent lead flow, you're not going to have any type of business.
Absolutely.
That, and as an agent, every day you wake up unemployed. So until you get something under contract, and this kind of gives you like that baseline, like, okay, I know how many leads are coming in. I know I have this conversion rate, so I'm roughly going to make X amount. Then you can, once you have all of your bases covered, then okay, I can spend more time on my sphere, spend more time on my marketing and everything else.
Yeah, good point.
And you have to always be growing your sphere. These lead platforms is the foundation for growing your sphere because you're working those leads that much harder because you're looking for those referrals. You're building those relationships. So now that lead that came in that you're paying a referral fee has become your friend. They're part of your sphere, and then you're growing off of the referrals off of that.
Well, and we've seen, the evolution of leads. I've been in the industry for a decade at this point in time, and leads have evolved considerably just in, what I'll consider the short period that I've been, involved in real estate. So, I can remember being terrified to invest $300 a month and commit that, to a 6-month contract. It was a nervous lunch with our lender at that time to see if they would split and pay for the other $300 of that total $600 investment. And looking back on that, that's laughable. But when you're an agent that is only relying on incoming commission dollars, there is no base salary to offset
real fear.
that. In my opinion, failure is not an option, but we see a lot of people fail. And I don't think it's because they take the rest of it serious. Fast forward, we grew to spending almost $30,000 or $35,000 a month on those leads within a short period of time. And Travis, you had actually been previously working with us at that time too. And that's ultimately what helped get us the Flex program and transfer. So, I think where I was starting with that comment is it's evolved. So what used to be a paid for ad in large part these days has gone to a referral based, pay, but it's still a large cost, and I think there's a lot of resistance sometimes from agents because whether it be the front cost, the 20, 30, 40% referral fee cost, they don't see the long-term value of what Don just said, building that sphere, widening, your pool of buyers and sellers. And Travis, I think you said it fantastically the other day, something about like, that's not a one-time cost, that's a lifetime cost or I don't know.
Yeah, you look at any type of investment into a lead, you have to look at the lifetime value of that lead. So yeah, you may look at, hey, there's a potential referral fee and it seems high, or whatever your conversion is on that lead type and your cost per deal, but that's a very singular way to look at that relationship. So that lead relationship, you have to look at the lifetime value. So how can you grow that? So, okay, yeah, you might have spent $2,000 on that transaction, but how do you turn that into, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, turning them into a raving fan? They're referring everybody to you. Now that cost is completely insignificant because you're looking at a much larger picture.
Absolutely. And I think I've said this before, it's my favorite little statement at a closing table. Like, this isn't the end of our relationship, it's the beginning of our relationship. Real estate, 1,000% in my opinion, is a relationship building exercise. It's not transactional. It's not about a commission check. It's about meeting someone, growing that sphere, kind of helping them through a journey that can be pretty arduous or, stressful. Also a lot of fun. And then, capitalizing on that over and over to where, you can be that support and that liaison for their friends, family, and others.
I think it really comes down to if you want to have a job or you want to have a business.
Yeah.
If you want to have a business, you're going to build relationships and really grow that into your sphere from those lead sources. Yeah. But if you just want a job, you're like, hey, I'll rinse and repeat making checks. I usually tell all of our agents that the goal is to get at least 2 referrals off of every client that you meet. Do so good of a job. They're like, man, I have friends, I have family. I want to introduce you to people. I think a lot of agents don't understand that this isn't only people you close deals with. I actually recommend it on the first showing, telling people, hey, my goal is to do so well with you that you're going to refer me to at least 2 people that you know. Making sure your goal is clear up front, kind of putting it in their mind, almost like how car dealerships, they'll tell you, oh, hey, there's a survey coming. Making sure that's clear up front. And they're like, oh, yeah, I have somebody I know that's looking to buy a house, and I'll recommend you.
I know one of my first deals that I ever did through a referral, I had to pay a heavy referral fee. Then I had to pay my team lead. So, but I looked at it, something is better than nothing. But I worked that lead harder because I wanted to build that relationship. As a result, I ended up with, they referred me to their sister who bought and sold, who referred me to her sister, who referred me to their niece. So I've got 10 deals off of this one. Yes, I paid heavy referral, but in long term, I've got a lifelong client and ended up with, making quite a bit of money just off of that one.
That's awesome.
That's the important part to consider is like, it's not about today, it's about tomorrow. So even with Glasshouse, we try to make our lead platforms as absolutely fair as possible to the agent. We take on all the expenses. We give a true 50% of that gross back to the agent because we understand that's impactful. This is how you're paying for your lifestyle, raising your kids, your family, whatever. And so, we do that because now we still stay in the black. We got to run a business and, pay our bills. But we probably only make 2 to 5% off of those leads. And we're okay with that because I know that the win today is really the win tomorrow, meaning, you landed that client, you help them get into a home, you get those 2 referrals, and those next 2 deals are going to be at your normal split. Glasshouse will make its money, and we all win together in that long road. And now that foundation, that sphere has grown, and that's going to propel you to do better in your career and last longer. You guys have all run teams at different times. Is there kind of like a common misconception to you, like when people enter, like I always jokingly say it's the handout mentality. Like, if I get a lead, certainly I'm going to be successful in real estate, but what have you guys seen?
Oh, I feel like it comes down to almost similar to what Dawn was talking about, like where she sees the big chunk coming out of that first check. I think it's so discouraging to agents where they, don't recognize it as like, hey, this is an investment into my business. The phrase I use often is, do you want 10% of a watermelon or do you want 100% of a grape? Because at the end of the day, it's like you are getting a smaller piece of the pie when you're having to pay out these referral fees, but the pie is so much bigger that your net is really what you should focus on. I think that's a misconception. I have agents that have called in and they're like, well, I get 100% where I'm at now. And I'm like, yeah, out of how many deals? It's like 0, 100% of 0 is always 0. So
I went to public school. Thank you for that.
I was
carrying the one.
Exactly.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that they think, you're getting these leads and they're hot, they're ready, that it's going to be instant money, when really it's the long game. Every once in a while you get those bluebirds where they come in and they're ready to rock and roll. Those are the nice ones, but it's the long game and having the tools to make that long game happen. I mean, I have one I got from Zillow 4 years ago. Bad credit, could not make anything happen. Through my follow-up, through just the processes that we have in place, they came back 4 years later and said, I'm pre-approved, let's go. Yeah. We're closing next month. So it is the long game, and that's something that we really stress, and we put processes in place to make that happen.
Well, and I want to come back to that in a minute because I think that's the other half of lead, is what is your follow-up process? What are the systems in place that, for the person that's not ready to go today? You have any misconceptions, though? Like what have you seen in your past?
I mean, as far as misconceptions, I think that depending on each lead source is a different lead type. There are those that are ready, willing, and able right now. There are those that are maybe in the future, within a few months, and there's some that are long term. So you treating every lead the exact same, you're going to get very minimal results. So depending on the lead type, I think people go, oh, well, it's a one size fits all. I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about this type of thing. But each lead, depending on how they came in to you, needs to be addressed a little bit differently.
Exactly.
And it comes down to like the psychology of how did they find you? How, what was the exact flow that they went down? If they're clicking a button for a cash offer, like what's the psychological pattern for somebody who's looking for a cash offer. Like, what is their need to be able to help to figure out how do you best respond to them? Is it phone call? Is it text? And what are the things that you say? What are the concerns that you mention?
And I think a lot of people lose track of the fact that, again, in this relationship journey, the lead is no different than your brother, sister, best friend, mom, dad, uncle. So like when they come to you through that source, whatever it might be, and they are various, and I mean, it's a wide. There's just many options. But when they come to you, it's that initial conversation. What are you looking to do? What is important to you? When is that next step for you? And kind of culturing that lead almost, and so that you know what bucket to put it in, how to best follow up with them. Because, to your point, it could be 4 years, it could be 1 month. And losing sight of that is a good way to have a conversion rate of probably like 3 to 5%. When in reality, I know you've all seen those people who are converting at 30 and 40%, and everyone thinks they're the phenom, but it's like, no, they just have great systems in place. They don't lose track of the goal.
Yeah. We bought a house this morning that had we treated it just like every other lead, it's been in our database now for 3 years. So if we treated it like it was a now person and didn't do anything else in the future, we wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, and I think that's understanding the relationship. Just like Mo said, this is a relationship. This isn't transactional, and you have to approach each of these leads that way, and understanding where are you at with that relationship and how do you nurture that relationship.
I'll kind of start with you, Cody, because I know how we treat our systems and what we do, but you have several different lead platforms, different structure than we do. Like, how does your team of 80 people, handle incoming leads? Like, where does it start and stop with you all and really move to the agent? And, how do you help control that?
Yeah, it really kind of depends on which platform they come in through. A lot of the leads come direct to the agent. We expect speed to lead within the first couple of minutes generally. Especially when it comes to our seller leads, it's like 60 seconds or less.
As far as that's what you want the agent to be doing. So
That's
within
what they're
60
doing.
to 2 minutes of 60 seconds or 2 minutes,
Correct.
buy or sell, you're expecting them to have reached out to that client.
Correct. Yep. 60 seconds. If it's an online inquiry, we want them to get back in touch with that person while the phone is still in their hand. They haven't had a moment to say, oh, that was an impulsive decision to press some buttons on the internet. We want to get them right while they're still thinking about real estate. It's probably not a great quote, but buy or die. That's how long you keep in touch with people, because it really is a relationship business. If you focus on the relationship, the money will follow. And that's kind of what it comes down to. And, when I'm looking for a plumber for a house, I'm thinking about who are my friends? Who are the people I know? Who are the people I like and trust? Same thing goes for people when it comes to real estate.
And I think that speed to lead is so important because we become a society of we have a question, we have an itch, we want it scratched right now. So if I hit that button, I want to talk to somebody quickly. So that speed to lead is critical.
I think there's a couple different factors there, whether it be, it was the impulsive, I was just curious, and chances are that person's not ready to buy tomorrow. But
it's a precursor,
100%.
like a psychological precursor. It's like, why am I putting stuff in my Amazon cart if I'm not planning on checking out eventually?
Exactly. So there's some reason, something on the horizon that says home buying's in my, future. And so, that's a different type of nurture where you come in and start talking to them and like, well, hey, like, let me, help you with kind of what that would look like, paint a path forward. I don't care if you call me today or 2 months from now. Is it okay if I just keep kind of checking in with you?
Exactly. And the longer you are a part of any form of lead platform, like Dawn had mentioned, one might buy within that first 90 days. But 2 or 3 more might buy within the next couple of years. Longer you go, that number just continues to compound. So we have a pretty big database after my business partner's been in business 40 years. So we have a ton of people. I mean, we have people that are calling us today. They're like, oh, yeah, we talked to you 20 years ago. And it was a really great conversation, and you helped us with this, and now we're back.
And so that goes back to the relationship.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well, and the systems that manage it, right? So that database, you've never lost track of those people, whether you're closing them, whether they just reached out to you, no matter the platform, they're all going into one internal space, correct?
Exactly.
And then I'm sure you separate those in some capacity. You're not going to treat every, bucket the same.
Yeah, everybody's different. I think the biggest thing is understanding, like, what is the client's time frame? Like, where are they comfortable? If they're not going to buy for a year or two, I'm not going to call them once a week. So it's based on like the stage of the relationship, and then you can kind of gauge that follow-up cadence from there. and understanding, what is their goal, and also how can I help. I think I had an agent actually call me. She said, I was doing a nurture lead today, and I was calling after my 30 days. I was following up with them, and I didn't call about real estate. I actually called to ask her if she ended up getting her pool covered, because last time I talked to her, she was in the middle of covering her pool. And apparently the person was ecstatic, like, oh my gosh, you remembered me. You remember like what we talked about. And I think that's just so important. And I actually give bonus points to agents that it's like, yeah, you were personable with them. You were a human. You're,
100%.
Because I think otherwise it's telling of like what your goal is. If I'm calling you saying, hey, are you looking to buy or sell? It's like, you're just trying to make money. But if you're really focused on the relationship and their values and what they want out of this, then you're going to have a lot more success.
That goes to the saying that I've heard that I really like is build rapport and work no more.
Yeah.
So as soon as you built that rapport,
Love that.
the ease of the transaction, the relationship is so much easier as you do that. So if you can call back and present some value, and present some type of like connection that you had before, it's huge.
Well, and part of it too is it helps make a more personal relationship, obviously. But that's important because how many times has everyone at this table got the I didn't want to bother you, conversation? And I'm like, that's like me telling a doctor not to take my temperature. Like, that's what we do. And, I kind of try to always, or used to always try to massage that at the beginning by saying, hey, I don't care how long this journey takes. It's your journey. I'm just your liaison. So I don't care if we look at one home or if we look at 100 homes, or what. We got to find you the right home. That's my goal. Because if you're not happy, then we all lose. And I think having those personal connections, shows them that, it's not, did you see that house I sent you?
Yeah.
Are you going to buy that house I sent you?
Well, even with something as simple as that, like I have our agents, we have a little spot that they note like things that are important to the client and background information. Mm-hmm. So if they say, I work at this place, and my dog's name is Buster, I have 3 kids, when they're doing their follow-up, if they're sending a house, they're going to say, hey, this is a fenced-in backyard. It would be great for Buster. Tie it into exactly what that person's motivations and interest is.
Mm-hmm.
And if all else fails, if they don't know what to say, the holidays are amazing.
Yep.
I was like, around, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, love that. And I spend my first 2 hours of each of those holidays just going through, just touching base with everybody on my list.
Well, I think the organic touch means a lot. Travis, with your business, with like the investment side, do you see that as different? Do you pursue that in the same fashion you would just a normal client relationship, or do you tackle that a little bit different? Because I think, when we think leads, we always automatically assume, that that's a buyer or seller. But real estate is such a wide, swath of, opportunities that really, leads come in many different fashions. And I think it goes back to what you say. You're building a business. We're all independent contractors. We should all treat this like a small business, and so that is a part of the investment. But does it differ for you, or do you equate some of the same, success stories from your real estate background to your investment background?
Yeah, I'd say that a lot of the processes are very similar. On the investment side, we do have somebody who is lead intake. So they are the one that every single lead that comes in, they talk to, no matter where it came from, they take that lead in and then they do whatever's necessary for that specific lead. But yeah, so on that side of things, people are coming to us because they want a cash offer. They're wanting, but with our lead intake, it's why. Mm-hmm. Why a cash offer versus listing your property or any other thing. So the processes are going to be very, very similar. It's just uncovering then their own personal why.
What that motivation
and what that motivation is on what they need. And then, from there, it goes into, many different buckets as well. Because as far as the cash offer side, people may think they want the cash offer, but it only works for maybe about 10% of the marketplace that really fits their need. Other times, you know what? You actually do need to talk to a real estate agent that's going to go over, different things in the market. But yeah, as far as when a lead comes in, ours goes to one central location and then is, it's assigned from there.
Do you guys do something similar? I mean, do you use an ISA or an inside sales agent?
Yeah, we have a couple of inside sales agents. Really just depends on the situation. So if somebody mentions to the inside sales agent that they're looking for financing, inside sales will hold on to them a little bit longer. Or if it's somebody who's like, say they're elderly, or say they have some reason that they need a little extra patience or assistance, we'll hold on to them for a little bit until we assign them out. But yeah, in general, I would say a good portion of the leads come directly to the agent. I think it's an important dynamic to build that relationship up front and not make it feel like an interrogation to a degree. Because I know I've talked to other inside sales agents that are like, yeah, we jump on the phone and we're like, what's your credit? Can you get it pre-approved for a loan? Are you married? Where do you live?
Click.
It's like, yeah, you don't do that on a first date.
Wait, you don't?
Okay. Travis and I are on the
That
same page.
explains a
at
lot.
least.
That explains a lot.
But I think that's another testament to building the relationship, right? So the ISA who can get on there, we previously had an ISA on our team, and Travis has coached many in the past. But it's about meeting that person where they are in life. It's not about getting to the how quickly can I get you in a house, or did you actually want to buy? It's finding out who they are, what their needs are, why did this call or that click come to be in the first place, kind of making them feel safe. Like, hey, we just have your best interest at heart, and then kind of moving into what a next step might look like. And again, it's going to be different for everyone. Don, I could probably answer this question myself, but you're going to do a 10 times better job. What are your systems? I know you've really honed in over the last few years, and I've seen the phenomenal return on that investment and the time you're spending. But I think you've kind of changed everything from when we started that Flex program to now where we're at with Preferred.
Yeah, it's totally changed. It's all about that first conversation. Most of our leads goes directly to the agents. There are some that will come directly to me, and then I get to know that person, then I'm matching it up with the agent that's going to best suit that client. But it's all about that first conversation. Okay, when do you want to see the house? Let's scratch the itch. Now let's learn more about you. And I tell all my agents, everybody gets that first showing for free, because 70% of buyers will work with the first agent that they meet. So once you get with them and you're going to show your value, if you get in front of them, you got them. And even if they've gotten stood up, this is a fun trick that I say. I'm like, do a quick video. It's like, I hope everything's okay. I'm sorry you couldn't make it. Here's a quick video of the house. Let me know if you want to reschedule. Just because they stood you up doesn't mean it's a bad lead. It just means something happened in life. And it's your job to make yourself a person, not just someone on the phone.
Well, I think, there's a good underlying point there, which is we're working for these people. Yeah. We have to provide value. Just because we have a lead and they're interested doesn't mean we are guaranteed or even deserve that business. I mean, it's no different than when you walk into a store or somewhere, and if they kind of just flippantly are like, hey, thanks for coming in, and like walk the other way, you're like, do I want to still buy something here? So when you show up, when you meet them, when you're showing that you're willing to put forth the effort, then yeah, they are encouraged to work with you. They feel a little bit safer. If you're just going to be like, are you pre-approved? No. Click. Like, they don't want to work with you. Again, all they're hearing is, are you going to make money or not make money?
Exactly. It's like what you're basically saying non-verbally is, I don't care about your home search. Yeah. I want to make money. But if you're willing to meet them and kind of get to know them, then it's telling of what your goals are.
And you never know who they know. I mean, I remember being so busy and my phone was ringing off the hook, and I picked up one, and it was a $24,000 mobile home to go show, and I'm like, okay. So I called, and I went there, and no, they weren't going to buy it, but they knew a lot of people, and I know you've got some stories where Evan did a $20,000 property, and.
And I think it's important to understand that, it's not the sale price you're even, concerns you. It's the fact that, you saw $30,000 go out that month for lead programs, and, $20,000 home doesn't, pay the bills.
They were so appreciative.
But it's again, you didn't get in this business because you just wanted to make money. You have to be there to want to help people with that journey, because there's a lot easier ways to make money. It's not that glamorous of a job when you really look behind the scenes and the amount of time that goes into it and what's spent on a day-to-day basis. But, I do remember when Evan had that, it was a $20,000 home. It was an as-is sale, and we got an investor call, which we've had this conversation on a different podcast, but when you're early into real estate, investors sound like the best thing ever because every single one calls and says, I'm going to buy 20 homes a year with you. And then you quickly realize that none of them actually buy homes, not even one, let alone 20. They all went to some seminar, whatever. Travis is the exception. We won't badmouth investors.
No, investors suck.
But so anyways, Evan's kind of bitching and moaning all morning. I don't want to go out here and show this. They're not going to buy it. I've been to this house before. It's pretty rough, but he did. And that's the important thing. You got to go out, you got to meet people, you got to see what their intentions are, get to know them, develop that relationship. And they didn't buy that house. And Evan was part of that reason. He's like, look, there's not a return on this. I've been in this property before. Happy to help you out if investing is what you want to do, but you're going to take a bath on this one. They truly appreciated that. He didn't show up and just say, oh, you're an investor? Yeah, I'm sure you know what you're doing. He came with the resources of why not to. And that turned into an immediate relationship to which that guy was like, well, hey, man, thanks for all that feedback. I've got 2 that are finished. I'd love for you to see those and maybe you can help me sell them. Within a 6-month period, we'd sold multiple flips for them, helped them buy a couple more. Sold grandma and grandpa's house, helped grandma and grandpa buy a house, and inevitably, one of their daughters ended up working for us. And so it was it was just this beautiful relationship to which, they're still with the brokerage. And that was a ton of fun. And it's you never would have known if you'd have judged that book by its cover or not shown up and added that value, of hey, this might not be the right one, but we're here to help you find it.
See, and that's where it goes back to the value, because value unarticulated is value unappreciated. Mm-hmm. So if you are not, presenting and showing that value to that customer, like Evan did on that initial meeting, then what differentiates you from every other schmo they could call and come in contact with?
Exactly. There are thousands of us, and if you're not doing something different and truly stepping up to the plate, why do you deserve that business?
And these lead programs, why you're paying that heavy referral fee. The one thing I remind my agents of every day, you're getting leads when nobody else is. Your phone is ringing, and you're getting that opportunity to build those relationships and expand your sphere and grow your business.
So, I know we didn't get super into the weeds on our follow-up systems, et cetera. I think that's a conversation we could talk about for days. So again, if anyone wants that information, put it in the comments. Let us know where you've struggled, what you want to hear. I'd love to come back to that and deep dive it. But I think the underlying question I have is, and I think we get this from agents a lot, is it the lead source that, is the most, is that what you want to pay attention to? Or is it the follow-up system?
I would say follow-up system. I feel like consistency is the name of the game when it comes to real estate. Staying in touch with people and matching their cadence, matching where they're at, and how often you should be communicating with them. I know you mentioned they bought, Evan showed the investor one home and they didn't get that one, which they normally don't.
Yeah.
Most people, a lot of newer agents, they'll start showing houses. They show a house, person doesn't buy that one house, and they're like, dud lead. I'm like, what are you talking about? They still want to buy a house, just not that house. But yeah, staying in touch for the long haul, just making sure that it's a quality relationship forever. Till they buy or sell, and even after, and making sure that you're providing resources. So if they call you and say, "Hey, I'm renting," it's like, well, why are you renting? If you don't mind me asking, is it a down payment issue? Is it a credit issue? And it's like, oh, well, I know somebody in credit repair, or I know a lender with down payment assistance. And do you realize that you're paying more in rent than you would on a mortgage? And then that money's in your pocket instead of your landlord's. Just really about providing the resources to your clients long term.
It's 100% about the follow-up. And, we've really worked hard to put processes in place that give the agents the tools to help them with that process, because let's face it, we're all really bad at follow-up. But our systems, you can actually create a task list. It's auto-recording and creating tasks, suggested tasks off of your conversations. Doing those little reminders, those little nudges, going, hey, don't forget to do your job. And that's where our agents are really finding a lot of success, is having those systems in place, and we have those drip marketing campaigns that fits for the financial or for just kind of trying to re-engage, and that's working.
Absolutely.
I think of it like peanut butter and jelly, and maybe it's just because it's lunchtime. But and that's the only
You got to have
illustration I
both.
can think of. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's what we're all getting is that, yes, you have to have consistent lead flow, but you have to have also the appropriate follow-up systems. If you don't have lead flow, but you have good follow-up systems, well, who are you following up with? And if you have good lead flow, but you don't have follow-up systems, you got no peanut butter and jelly, baby.
No one wants all peanut butter. No, I think I would agree. I think I don't really consider there to be a bad lead. There might be a lead that doesn't work out, or hey, I have a realtor, and that doesn't mean that they don't circle back to you later down the road. I think that goes back to like, oh, dud or rejected. It's like, no, like who's to say that other relationship's going to work out, or that they might need to sell in a year and they'll never forget the conversation you had that directed them back to that agent, and then it was a bad transaction. You never know. So no, again, always invest in the person because you're really investing in yourself. But again, it's only as good as that follow-up. I've seen it firsthand with our team where, we were paying a lot of money for monthly leads. And that came with a lot of active buyers, especially at a different time in the market where things were really jumping off and people wanted to get in quickly. And if you were responding quickly, like you said, Cody, you were having massive success. But thank God Travis came in and kind of helped turn that around because we didn't realize just how much we were leaving on the table, how many people we weren't serving properly because we got caught up with what was immediately in front of us.
Exactly. The way I usually describe it, and I speak a lot in metaphors like this, but I always think about it where it's like an agent gets so many leads in. It's like they're at a buffet. They're going for the steak when they're like, maybe I should have went for some of the vegetables. So they're like focusing on the top. But at the end of the day, nurture lead, somebody who's not willing to buy in the next 90 days or 6 months is really a seed. And it's like if you throw them away and are like, oh, yeah, they're not going to buy, you're never going to get anything from them except for the rare chance that they call you direct. But it's, if you give it sun, give it water, keep in touch, it's going to bear fruit one day. It is very funny because I often hear from agents that, oh, yeah, they'll call me when they're ready. They'll call me when they're ready. I'm like, my sister actually bought a home with somebody, has no idea who she bought it with. Not only did she see houses with them, write the offer, get it accepted, and close, and has something in her house that has that person's name on it. Like, even then, they don't remember who you are. So it's like you have to just
and there's
focus on the
high level of
relationship.
Confusion with our industry. People don't understand. So when they show up to that open house and the agent's like, well, no, you really want to write with me. They don't know any better because they haven't talked to you in 6 months because you were waiting for them to call.
Yep.
Or, they click on that because it popped up or a friend or family member sent, a link through Trulia or RealtorZilla, whatever it might be. And they don't know any better and they click again and they get a tour. Like they don't understand the relationship. You got to constantly be in front of them to say, hey, send me those links. I can do all the back end research and let you know before we even go out there. You got to constantly be in front of them.
And I think with that, I love that metaphor because it's a situation where I think of it then like Jocko who's like, you got to look at 100% accountability for everything that you do. So was it that lead or are you just bad at conversion?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or is that what you need to work on? Is that other process? So sometimes with these leads, you do, as an agent, you have to look back at yourself and go, what could I do better?
Well, I think it's also very frustrating because as agents, we're constantly reaching out, we're texting, we're emailing, and clients are quiet. And what I tell my agents is they're not going to talk to you till they're ready. And one thing that's always fun for me is when my agents are like, well, I'm texting, but then you can start to see activity on whatever platform where they've gotten active again. I said, it's your job to constantly remind them, I want to buy a house. Yep. Oh, yeah, I want to buy a house. When I'm ready, whatever, because we don't know what's going on in their lives, whatever finishes and they're ready, then they'll be like, oh, yeah, Dawn's the one that's been sending me stuff. Dawn's the one that's kept in touch with me. So that's who I'm going to call.
I often talk about that because I am that asshole client who just ignores them until you need them.
Yeah.
So like I was looking to buy a car. I had got, probably 40 text messages over the course of 6 months from somebody. I called him and said, hey man, I'm on the way there. I want to test drive this car. It's like after 6 months
Yeah.
of ignored texts, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm ready today. I want to see the car, so I'm calling.
And that's just it.
so
It's
good,
not that you're pestering, you know what I mean? It's just that day they were working or picking up kids or taking care of mom, dad,
Exactly.
whatever it was,
It's
and
not a
they saw your
priority
text
for
and you're
them.
like, no, we're still on hold. But it is. It's 4 or 5 weeks later when the perfect house pops up or life calmed back down and they're like, oh, I got to reach out to Cody. We are ready, you know? I think the other, kind of going back to the beginning, like misconceptions is like, who are leads right for, you know? Like, and I don't think that's a certain person in the industry. Like, I think a lead source can be beneficial to literally anyone at any point in time in their business. We've seen it take agents who would have bowed out 6 months in to making well over 6 figures and now being, again, the foundation of what their business was, to the point where they've turned it to now it's more sphere than lead, but the sphere is built off of it. And we've seen agents who just crush, have an amazing sphere, and don't mind the additional 5 to 10 transactions a year that come from a lead source. Or maybe they're like me, using that to supplement and help feed a team. So, I mean, like, Cody, what does it look like for you, like, to be a part of the Asa Cox teams? Like, how do you use those leads? How do you help grow agents, you know?
Yeah, so I really think it's like not a one size fits all. I agree. I don't think there's really any agents that should not have a lead source. There's agents that we have that went from 3 different brokerages over the course of 3 years, sold 1 house per year, came with us with a lead source and followed our recipes for success and sold 35 homes in their first year with us. And we have other agents that started on the Zillow program, did so well that they are 90% sphere based now. Based on all the relationships they built, they were able to turn that into their own business, but they still use the program because it's supplemental. They can just kind of tap into it if the market gets slow. If their cousins aren't buying this week, they can just dip right in. It's like a little savings account.
Which I just want to dig a little bit deeper on that. So I've known you for going on a year now. We'll round up a touch. And I've seen your team grow in that time by like close to 33%. I mean, I think when I first met you, you were around 60 agents in the fall, and fast forward to almost 80 agents now. I mean, what's your recipe for success? What makes you different? Because we see a lot of, brokerage lead team platforms fall flat, just flat out fail. I've seen teams, build and they're top heavy and they fail. Like, what sets you apart to have that continued success?
I would say accountability. And the main pillar of accountability is visibility. Being able to see all of exactly what's going down in a specific file, and then being able to provide assistance wherever it's needed, and then training. Where I think a lot of teams get it wrong is they just hand agents leads and say, good luck. Versus we're like, okay, here's exactly what you do at each stage. We have an AI that is essentially scanning, seeing when they talk to somebody last, what's the stage of the relationship, and when's the appropriate time for them to follow up. So they don't even have to think about it. They just go into their list every day and they're like, okay, I have to talk to this person, talk to this person, talk to this person. On the side, it shows their motivations and interests. So they're like, hey, if I need to, I can kind of throw those in, kind of a quick refresher on the person. We have a lot of mentorship, a lot of training. It's really just about following the recipe, though, and being consistent with it. The example I always use is the Betty Crocker box. If you're looking at the back of it and you follow that recipe to a T, you're gonna make a cake. It's, the scientists made that, and with a bunch of cooks, like they all went and looked through it and figured out what's the best way to make this cake, and here's the recipe. But if you skip the eggs, that cake is gonna suck. So don't skip the eggs.
Yeah, and that's where I think. So I've been licensed 19 years. I've been with, 3 different brokerages over the 19 years. And I think that's one of the major differentiators that Glasshouse offers, is that type of level of lead flow, yet also a level of accountability.
Agreed.
To help make sure that you do have the right conversions. And that's why so many of our agents are able to then hit that 6 figures plus, because of that whole entire process.
But I also think it's the foundation of it all is the culture. We have built the culture, and we started with the 6 people, and we built that culture of we're a family, and the coaching and working through those problems because these lead programs are ever evolving and ever changing, and holding each other accountable and working together as a family and as a team to figure out the right solution on how do we get to the finish line and how do we grow our business.
I could hug you all. I think accountability is the number one key to success for most things in life, to be quite honest, but certainly lead flow, because to me, that is why a lot of lead programs fall flat. They dish out the lead. They're very heavy on their splits, everything. It's like company first. We got to make our money. We got to pay our franchise fee. We got to, all this stuff. They're not thinking about the agent. They're not thinking about tomorrow. They're not necessarily thinking about the client. And then in addition to that, there's no one there to help them be successful. They're not giving them that recipe. They're not giving them that coaching, that culture. I do think what's different at Glasshouse with that lead platform is that's 40 people that meet, once a month as a group, bi-weekly with their smaller pods and their team leads, and they really coexist well together. And, hey, what went well for you? What didn't work? And to your point, it is constantly evolving. We've added a ton of new tools. Follow-Up Boss has been a friggin' godsend. That's an unofficial plug. But it's like leaning into AI, which has been rapidly evolving in the last year to bring those efficiencies and processes, to streamline, the day-to-day workflow. Because you can only do so much as one person, but it's important to stay in front and not forget, the promises you made. I've heard this several times from different speakers or at different conferences, but when you're a parent, what's the one thing you do for your child? You hold them accountable. Like, that's what love looks like. That's what, helping them succeed in life is. Like, you wouldn't just let your child run out and do something and not explain to them why it was good or bad and, help them grow. And I think that's our job as a, team lead or coach or, whatever that title might be in real estate.
I think it's super important to, with that, like with at Glasshouse, you have somebody that you can reach out to, that you can ask them, like, hey, what are my metrics in this certain thing? Like, how am I faring? Somebody that can help you kind of figure that out. Because like you'd mentioned, the conversion rate, I really look at that as like an efficiency rate, where it's, if I have a 2% conversion rate, I need to show 5 times as many people homes as somebody with a 10% conversion rate. So being able to look at that and then hold yourself accountable of like, hey, here's where I am, here's where I want to be, and then figuring out how do I get there.
And, the better the team does, the more leads we're getting. So, the more leads we're getting, the more we can grow, and we can offer this to more and more agents.
I think this is kind of a common misconception as well. I'll kind of put this to Travis, Cody. I would be curious, because I think you guys have come from kind of similar backgrounds in the size of teams and the nature of, utilizing different tool sets, whether it be ISAs, CRM platforms, a crazy different platform of, advertisements. But I think everyone thinks there's this one size fits all, solution to converting leads or working with clients or just being in real estate in general, where it's like, if I do this and then I do this, like kind of the recipe, but not really. Because I think,
It's like recipes for different food groups.
Exactly.
Is the problem. Is people are like, oh, I know how to make a cake, so lasagna and meatloaf will be just fine. Like, I can make that. It's the same thing, right? It's like, no. Like, these are different ingredients. Like, you can't make that the same. So I think every single lead type has to have some different strategy. It's really just like you're playing different games and they have different rules.
Yeah, it'd be like you go into a room and is every single person the exact same?
Yeah.
No, everyone has totally different sets of circumstances, a different personality, we can go real psychological here. We can go different upbringings that have shaped, where they are today and how they make decisions. But yeah, it's, you got to have those different recipes for different people.
Yeah. I mean, how do you, I don't even know how to phrase this, but how do you kind of bring those agents to an emotional baseline? Because it's real estate, it's such an ebb and flow, and we wear so many hats. I mean, more often than not, we're the therapist, we're the home inspector, we're the parent, we're whatever you need in the moment. But how do you help the agent to kind of remain calm? Because it's like you said, sometimes it's like, hey, I showed them a great house, but they're not going to buy, and it's like, come on, one house, like you knew you were going to show some houses. What are some insight to you guys to kind of help them, prepare? Because it can be it is different, than working with your brother or sister or friend.
Yeah. I think it's really about understanding the data and how you respond to said data. So like for Dawn with the Zillow leads, the average home buyer is not buying for 110 days. And so like if they come into it and you manage that expectation, which I always say the agent's job, the majority of it is managing emotions and expectations. So us as team leads, we're doing the same, but just with the agents. So them understanding like right from the get-go, hey, average person's not buying for the first 110 days. 4 out of 10 of these connections are going to buy within 1 year. So you're going to get one that buys at around this time, and the other 3 buy between then and here. Just managing the expectation up front is really helpful for agents so that they don't get to that first showing and they're like, oh, this person's probably going to buy a house. It's like, probably not. Yeah. I think it's like, I don't know the data on it, but it's crazy numbers. So it's like 90-something% of people do not buy the first home they've seen.
Well, and I like the fact that the reason we've created these small pods is that you have these small round table conversations where that agent can bring that expectation and say, well, they're not a good lead. They're not going to buy this house. I'm done. And you have everybody else going, whoa, wait a minute, and sharing their expertise with one another. And that's where my team has really grown, is being able to share those stories and learn from each other. And that's why, those meetings are so very important.
I think collaboration is key, understanding that you're not alone in this industry, that other people have faced those challenges. We had a small-sided dinner with about a dozen of our agents last night, and just they had all hit a certain milestone within our award, categories from last year. And we wanted to take them out and see how they're doing this year, how the first quarter went, what's going on. And it's just amazing. And it's quite not about leads, but it does really circle back to how agents can help agents in that time. They're all sitting, we're talking what's working, and, short appraisals have been kind of a thing. We always get that. It ebbs and flows. And, there was a lot of frustration around the table about that. And one person's like, well, do you guys not make an appraisal packet? And that's like 8 people had whiplash. They're like, say what? and what she's built out was a phenomenal tool and resource to help these agents get in front of an appraiser, get ahead of it, before the appraisal went out. And she wasn't doing anything wild, but I thought it was a great touch to hopefully help your client, help yourself. And in this particular case, what it did is give 8 other people, the opportunity to change the way they're doing business. Now have a positive spin of saying, okay, that's a value add to my client. That's hopefully something that helps me in my career. And I love those moments because when you create a culture like we've done at Glasshouse, the agents are willing to share that. They don't see that as building competition. They see that as building the industry and having, a better just way of doing business, but just helping each other, which I think is fantastic. Normally at the end, I think this segment's a little bit different, but, as we kind of phase out, we always do our breaking the glass. And normally that's kind of the behind the scenes, the ugly reality, what HGTV doesn't show you. But I think today there's not necessarily, there's not like the ugly truth of lead systems. But I think what we have at this table is, not to age ourselves, but decades worth of experience, wrapped into one on how to successfully convert leads, how to create a monstrous team, how to elevate new and existing agents simultaneously, to invest and manage and bring, background of experience. But if there was like that 1 or 2 things that you really wish you knew now, or then that you knew now, how would you have changed your business? What would you have done differently?
I would say focusing on the type of communication with clients would probably be my biggest misconception that I really wish I knew earlier. So I know a lot of agents will say, oh, my clients all prefer to text, so I don't call them. But I think back to like the people that I know. I like to have phone calls. My grandma does not like to text. I do not like to email. So it's like really finding out where their communication boundaries are and really sticking to that, and then always mixing calls into it, using that as kind of your default. There is a vibe that people can get off of a phone call that they don't exactly get off of a text message. And when we're in a relationship business, we really want to be able to showcase our relationship and showcase like who we are as people and our personalities. And you don't get that as much over a text message.
It's just a quick pause. This is such a pet peeve of mine. Text and email is so flat. There's no emotional cadence. There's so many Key and Peele do great skits about this of like the perception on the
seen that,
other
yeah.
end from that text message. You're like,
Absolutely,
so you say
yes.
what? Like, and it's we are always going to read that in our current emotional state, our tone, until we know someone. Like I know when Travis texts me, what's a joke? Like I can almost hear his voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that developed over years and years of friendship. Whereas the person I don't know what's coming through. They don't know me. So allowing for that phone call to just get on, let them hear you smile, you know, whatever it is, like make a joke, get that personality out. It's so much different than like, I saw you were interested in 123 Smith Street.
Exactly.
And that, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that point, it's like when I'm discussing with the agents, I'm like, there's absolutely nothing wrong if their preferred method of communication is text or email or whatever it is, but nothing gets more influence than being able to have a true conversation with somebody. It's like all those
Default to
things
phone
lead
calls.
to being able to have a better conversation.
When it's we're gonna squirrel here, but it's the little things like you hear that dog barking in the background because he saw a squirrel, and you're like, "Oh, you have a dog? What type of dog do you have?" People love their animals. I have 2 pit bulls. That's fantastic. I used to have a pit. You know what I mean? And now that conversation that was kind of generic and you didn't know where to go has moved into building that rapport and having an earnest conversation that's just kind of off the wall. And so I think that helps a ton.
So I guess for me, what I wish I had or knew, I wish I had the tools that I have today to help give me insight to what that agent is doing and where they're struggling so that I could better coach them. I look at some of the agents who have come and gone, and it's like, ooh, if I had these tools back then and I would have that insight, I could have better coached them, and maybe they'd still be here.
For me, it was systems. I was laissez-faire. You know, I think I'm a great communicator. I like working with people. I've been in customer service, sales, management my entire life. I've never been in an industry where I'm not constantly interacting with new people. So like building rapport came easy. I like engaging with folks. I don't care about when you buy the house. I just want to be a part of that journey. I want to have fun. Like I've made a ton of friends through this industry. It's fantastic. And so that wasn't the difficult part. Keeping all that in one place or following up or sending a newsletter. Like I was so caught up in the day-to-day grind and the fun of showing 20 houses over a weekend or, you know, whatever that looked like, that I forgot to put that information into one single database or anything like that. And it was, you know, quick shout out to Alex Barnes, who was our rep with Zillow at the point in time, but like he had to slap that into me. We got in like knockdown fights over it because he's like, you haven't responded to like 80% of your leads. I'm like, yeah, man, but we sold 20 million, you know? And he's like, you could have sold 40. And I'm like, don't you come at me like that. And he's like, and it would be this back and forth. And he would not leave me alone. Like he hounded me. And he was absolutely right. And thank God I met him before I met Travis, because then we didn't look like a complete slouch when he came in and was like, that's not bad, but what if we did this, this, and this? And again, took us to the next level. And it was like, you know, I think we were running a team of 6 or 7 when you came in to help us, Travis. And that had started with just Evan, my business partner, and myself. It was the 2 of us. And once we could no longer take care of it, we brought in another person, and then so on and so forth. But we just didn't know what we didn't know. And those systems made so much more. We were a phenomenal sales team. I won't take away from anyone on that team, my business partner and myself included. But the year Travis came in, brought in an ISA, brought in a CRM, put some systems in place, we had without a doubt our best year ever, like skyrocketed us. And people trivialize how much that helps your business and allows your business to continue to grow. Like I have to meet with Travis next week because we have 7,000 contacts that are in no system. And he was just shaking his head at us like.
Well, improving those systems does help. I mean, we deconstructed the team and reconstructed it last year. I was running everything, and then the team got so big, we broke it out into smaller pods. And the first quarter that they were in place, we over doubled our sales volume, which means that we have more leads coming in. So the systems are absolutely critical.
I think that's a fantastic point. And we brought this up in other podcasts too. Getting complacent in real estate is just death. Everything is changing. You constantly have to evolve, you know, whether that be the industry, the size of your team, where the lead flows are coming from. Like if you're not constantly reevaluating and analyzing your processes and what's working and what's not, you're also going to flounder.
Yeah.
And that's what I think for myself. I didn't truly realize from starting in the business till now is the level of personal development that this business actually takes. That if you are continually to work on and improve yourself, because we can be, the few inches between each year can be the thing that holds us back from making, from doing a few deals to, hey, why didn't you actually do double that? Oh, wait a second, why didn't I do that? But then it couples with the same thing. So are you looking at your business the same way? Are there things I need to tweak, improve, to work on? And it all, with my opinion, starts with yourself. Like, you have to be totally continually working on. That way, then it can translate into your business.
1,000%. I think one of the things I love about our relationship is we're constantly sharing books back and forth. Like, hey, this was really impactful for me. To that point, I'd read a book. I think it's a great book for no matter what industry you're in, called Leadership and Self-Deception. And it talks about being in your box. And essentially, it's your perception. So none of these leads work for me. None of them want to buy a house. And it's like, no, that might just be your preconceived notion. Have you sat down and looked at it like lasagna instead of, the cake? And it's, getting out of your own way to kind of allow yourself to
lunch
excel.
podcast.
Yeah.
We talked about food
So hungry.
this whole time.
Straight to that buffet after this.
Exactly.
But no, I think that was fantastic. Thank you guys for joining today. Hopefully, again, anyone listening, watching, if there's something that you really want us to go down that rabbit hole, whether it be systems, how to get to be that 80-person team or the 40-person team, how to take the knowledge you have and help grow other teams and build those systems. We'd love to get into the weeds with you all. Absolutely remember to like, subscribe, follow, all those good things. And we're looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Glass by Glasshouse Realty. Want to learn more? Go to glasshouserealty.com/podcast.